I mean, dude, you can have some epic fishing. I mean, that trip to Alaska was as epic as anything I've ever done hunting wise. I mean, we had to fly on a plane an hour north of Ketchikan. There's no roads. We had bears coming into the resort. We're fishing next to freaking whales. There's or bald eagles like flying over your head, carrying off fish. I'm like, this is incredible. These guys do this every day of their lives.
That is
It
cool.
was
Yeah.
awesome.
Oh, you got her, dude. She's down.
Let's go.
Dude, I just shot a deer of a lifetime.
Freaking smoked him.
One with nature, and if you're a believer, one with God.
Definitely gets your heart pumping. Boy, you are in trouble.
Fall Obsession Podcast.
Hey, what's up, guys? Welcome to another Fall Obsession podcast. Today I will be your host, Nick Powell, and today we are joined by a very special guest, Mr. Brad Luttrell. Brad, thanks for joining us.
Hey, thanks for having me, guys. I really appreciate it. I'm glad to get to talk to you a little bit today.
Yeah, absolutely. And also joining us today is our very own Drew Tordick. Drew, what's up?
Hey, how's it going, Nick?
It's going good. Glad to have you guys on today to talk about a pretty hot topic, I would say, in the hunting industry right now. So, Drew, without further ado, I'll just turn it over to you and let you kind of lead the conversation.
Yeah, absolutely. So I guess we can just start off by talking about some of the things that a lot of hunting and outdoor companies have been experiencing, and that's really sort of the censorship on Facebook, on YouTube. I know a bunch of famous channels have been going pretty public about some of the issues that they've been facing as far as some of the censorship and getting some of their videos pulled down. Brad, I know that's something that you are really on a mission to try and not only just talk about and bring forth, but also you have a really good solution for that as well. So I guess maybe you want to give an introduction on yourself a little bit and talk about your organization.
Yeah. So I'm Brad Luttrell. I'm the co-founder and CEO of GoWild. We started this platform in a basement over pizza with some dudes and my dog in 2016. And back then, we could really see a lot of this was coming in that the, platforms like Facebook were allowing a lot of harassment of hunters and really predicted that that's the way. If they were allowing the harassment to happen, eventually the business policies would catch up, because you're kind of making a statement by not stopping something, right? Like that was it's clear to us that this was likely the direction it was going to keep going. Fast forward 4 or 5 years, I think we all can see where this has landed. It's very much been a business decision that, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, they don't want to work with the hunting, shooting and fishing sports. Right. And so we started building a product, and, over the years, it's led to my full-time job. I quit my job at an ad agency. I was a creative director, which it was not as sexy as it sounds. It's not like a Mad Men per se. Parts of it are, but I mean, I had a good job and really believed in what we were doing, was passionate about what we were getting to do. And slowly, one by one, me and the other co-founders started quitting. And by the end of 2018, all 4 of us had gone full time to build this platform. And a lot's happened in between from when we launched this, and we've learned a lot. And it's funny because where we are now, we're still a social platform, but it's very different. I think anybody that's been on the platform since we were in beta in 2017 would say it's different. But today I would say that GoWild is a free social community helping outdoor enthusiasts improve their skills. You can discover gear, you can earn rewards. We have this cool shopping feature, so you can, like, as you post and get content, you get rewarded for it instead of having it censored. Like, it's literally the antithesis of what's happening on other platforms. And so, we feel like we have a really good platform for outdoorsmen and women, but at the same time, I also feel like we are probably one of the most educated companies in what is actually happening, in that we were spending a lot of money on Facebook. We're not now. I'll get to that in a second. But we were spending a lot of money because that's where our audience was, right? Like, if you don't know that there's alternatives or a place where you can have these much more in the weeds conversations around hunting, trapping, and fishing, or whatever it is, you just don't know. And so we were spending a lot of money to get people over. I've been personally, I've had death threats on Instagram and, Facebook. We've had similar activity, not as bad as Instagram. We've had content deleted from TikTok from our brand. The big hammer came twice this year with Facebook blocking our ad accounts. So for a picture of the last one before we pulled the plug was a picture of somebody holding binoculars with camo on, and we were trying to, we sell stuff. That's like a part of how we monetize the business and stay alive. And they flagged us for violent content because the guy had camo on. So we went round and round on this, but we finally pulled the plug on it. And it wasn't just like we're done here. What we started to see was, there's a whole year, and I'll kind of list off some of the stuff that's happened this year. I think people live in short term and forget, but there's a whole year of things that have happened in social media that it kind of built up to this. Literally the tipping point, though, and people can say whatever they want about mainstream media. I know people are very distrustful of journalists, and a lot of it's rightfully so. But the Wall Street Journal has done a phenomenal job of documenting how messed up Facebook is, right? Like the Facebook Files has uncovered some insane stuff. Like if I made it up 5 years ago, people would be like, dude, you are high, right? Like you're on something. But they have been tied to drug cartel recruitment. They've been tied to human trafficking. They've been tied to 32% of our teen girls having body image issues because of Instagram. They've been directly linked to 6% of all teen suicides being attributed to something that happened on Instagram. This list goes on and on. It's like 360 million people have mental health issues because of Facebook. This has been like hammer after hammer dropped. And at some point, and I think it was honestly like, I've got 2 girls, and so that's a hot button issue for me. I joke now. I'm not really joking, but I'm like, they won't have an Instagram or Facebook account until they're 37. Mostly because I'll probably be too senile at that point to really stop them. But that one really caught my attention of like the head of Instagram, Adam Mazzari said, he said, well, when you look at the data, it's actually quite small. And I'm like, dude, that's 32% of our teen girls that you're saying is quite small and you don't care about them. And so all this is compounding. And so we said, we're going to pull out. We pulled all of our budget from Facebook, which doesn't mean anything. Facebook. We're talking about a company that does, I think it's like 15 to 20 billion a quarter. We're talking about one of the most valuable companies in the world. But we've stepped away. So that kind of, you ask who we are, what we're doing, and why we're involved in this. We've made a stand to step away from it. And I could have fought, the ad thing, and we would have eventually won, and we would have made money on it again. We were making a really good return on a lot of our Facebook ads because Facebook, it can be a really powerful platform to advertise. We made a moral stand to say we're done here. We don't want anything to do with this platform. So we're not spending on Facebook or Instagram anymore. But when I look back, I kind of mentioned I was going to call out some examples. Facebook back in January, we all know what happened in January. It's kind of an insane time period in the United States with the Capitol riot, though. Facebook, as a result of that, went through and deleted about what they said was 200 Facebook groups. They said that they were dangerous ones, but really, like I personally knew multiple people who had their, like, I don't remember all the names that we've talked to. I think like Tennessee bow hunters. It's like, what? They had a group of like 90,000 people. I think these guys had that was deleted. Multiple other hunting groups had a couple 100,000 people, and their pages were deleted. YouTube just recently, they demonetized Seek One and some of these other guys for violating the rule that you can no longer monetize content that really just shows how to ethically source wild game. So processing a deer is now offensive to YouTube. Instagram and Facebook have been rapidly over the last 12 to 18 months. They've really accelerated the rejection of ad content. Which is, we're in this modern era of sales, and especially after last year, like e-com growth went online heavily during the pandemic. So that's a big hit. TikTok's artificial intelligence is scanning your content for weapons. I posted a shotgun. I was experimenting with TikTok. I kind of hate that platform, but also like it is funny. Like there's some funny stuff. There's an entertainment aspect to it. but I was experimenting with it, and I posted a video I made from a bachelor party with me holding a shotgun, and it got deleted within 2 minutes, which is not humans. That's like artificial intelligence, right? That kind of speed across the billions of hours that are uploaded to TikTok was deleted. Instagram's got their famous scarlet letter of censorship. One interesting one for me, a lot of people are like, well, you keep saying fishing, but nothing's happening in the fishing. Au contraire. I have a friend who runs a big Facebook group, and I think they got 20,000 saltwater anglers in this page. They're having photos deleted because the fish are dead. I don't know about you guys, but like it's always been recommended to me to kill the fish before you eat it. So like
Right.
there's all this crazy stuff going on, man. Like it's we're and hunters. Here's what like, and we can talk about this. I'll shut up here because I've been talking for a couple minutes to kick this off because I get excited about this stuff. But the thing is, hunters keep saying things like I keep hearing people say things like, oh, but it's a private company. They can do what they want. And it's like we keep justifying getting punched in the chin and why we're just going to tolerate all this stuff. And we don't think through, like when you think, I just listed off, I don't know, what was that, 8 different things that have happened in the last year. I mean, we can go further and further into this stuff. It's like, there's not going to be this grand announcement that hunting and fishing is no longer welcomed on these platforms. We're dying right now. We're dying the death of 1,000 cuts. And nobody's looking around to do anything about it, So we've kind of just made this our fight. I mean, we're a social media company. I think yes, you could say that, Brad, you have a lot to win here by people saying I'm done and walking away. But I'm like, I don't know. I mean, how long do you want to be tied to human trafficking and the endangerment of our children? It's like, this is not a hard, it's not hard for me. I deleted my Facebook 3 years ago. I deleted my Instagram just recently with the recent, all the stuff that was coming out about the girls, so that's like in a nutshell where we are as a company and my current disgust with Silicon Valley.
Yeah, I don't think you're alone in that frustration. It's something that I know we've dealt with as an organization, just dealing with ads getting blocked and dealing with content getting pulled back. And, even to the point where the algorithms now are not promoting the content unless you pay for the advertising, especially for hunting-related content.
Yeah, and that started coming out years ago, but now too, there's definitely some throttling going on just purely on language. I mean, my LinkedIn account, I have a really good active community on my LinkedIn account. And I've learned if I want to talk about firearms, I have to misspell it. Literally, I can't say firearms or I'll get throttled. I posted today. It's got a couple hundred comments or a couple hundred likes, maybe 100 comments on it so far in the first few hours here. And I misspelled firearms. I guarantee you, if I'd spelled it correctly, I would have gotten like a few hundred views on that post.
Right. Yeah, I've seen it. Yeah, I follow you on LinkedIn and connect with you. It's interesting to see some of the stuff that, when we talk about firearms or actually mention hunting specifically word for word in some of those pieces that we're putting out, that it definitely gets that restriction, that throttling that you're talking about.
Yeah, and people don't think about the power behind that, man. But I mean, let's talk about YouTube for a second. YouTube's the second largest search engine in the world, and it's owned by the number one search engine in the world, Google, right? But YouTube does more search volume than all other search engines combined. Think about this. YouTube, as you import your video, is transcribing your audio. If you guys post this on YouTube, they're going to hear everything that we're saying. It gets transcribed automatically through machine learning and AI and all that stuff. And then a data scientist has programmed it to comb through what we talk about, to do a sentiment analysis and decide if this is something they want to have on their platform. We used to post my old podcast, which is now Sunset, Restless Native. We did an experiment for about 6 months of putting that show on YouTube, but we talked about everything under the sun. I mean, if we want to talk about the pandemic and Fauci and whatever, we would talk about it, right? And when that show would hit, our channel would get throttled, the show would get throttled. I mean, our normal videos were doing like thousands of views on them. And then my Restless Native episodes would get 50 views on it because we talked about the pandemic. YouTube will scan your content. And if you even say the words pandemic, coronavirus, or anything like that, it's going to not allow you to advertisement because they are transcribing your audio and what you talked about in your video. And they alone have the ability to say what's morally right. So, and there's been all kinds of instances over the last year, and I won't turn this into a political podcast, but there's been instances that have come out of things that were true that they were throttling because they didn't want people to talk about. And then it came out and it's like, well, okay, we won't throttle that anymore. But I mean, in real time, they were, limiting discussion. So you think about like how our nation now consumes media. YouTube's more powerful than any TV station, any podcast. And you look at like they alone have the ability to decide what we can talk about. It's crazy, dude. I mean, it is like, that's the kind of stuff that keeps me awake.
Yeah. It's something that I know we have spent a lot of time discussing behind the scenes over here, and it's something.
That's because you have to discuss it behind the scenes. I'm sorry, this show's never going to get any reach on YouTube now that I've blown the water out of how it. It's like we just killed all hopes, right?
Right. No, but I mean that's just it. Is connecting with industry professionals and linking up and sort of just. It can't be any one of us alone that's going to solve this. It's got to be the whole industry, and not just the industry, but hunters out there in general that have to stand up and say, this is the content that I want. And I want to be able to, I want to be able to find out how to butcher my deer on YouTube. I want to be able to learn how to take this deer that I've shot in the field and turn it into food for my family.
Well, and also the industry needs to really give itself a pat on the back and realize how much weight we carry. This is an industry, hunt and fish, that creates $156 billion of economic output. Now, I don't know what it is post-COVID. It's going to be more because hunting grew 15% last year. Fishing grew 30 or 40%. I can't remember what it was. But the spend in our industry is crazy. And we don't think about like the true buying power we have. Yeah, half of us are blocked in the hunting industry anyways from spending money, but still the same. If we went somewhere else, our audience will follow. And that like at some point does matter. I think there's a lot of like, what can I do with my brand and our media budget? So one thing that we did, we pulled what to me is a big budget. It's not like Facebook doesn't even notice that we left. But we're taking those media dollars to brands and media partners next year who are in support of the lifestyle. And I really feel like the industry itself needs to realize when we advertise, and it took me a while to wake up to this. As we advertise on these platforms, we're literally funding the fight against ourselves. Every time we have viral posts go out on Facebook, that they make like almost $12 a CPM. So you can do it's not exactly the same, but you can pretty much do the math on like how many thousands of impressions did your post get? Congrats, you just made that much money for that platform. It's pretty close to being that simple. So for people that like to speak out on Facebook against Facebook, you didn't do a damn thing. Like you didn't do anything to affect change. And, so I really encourage brands that are trying to figure this out to look at other companies, Waypoint, founded by Builder Brock, got an awesome network of podcasts and shows that he's trying to get out there. Go talk to Builder, go talk to him about how you can, work with him to get the word out about your brand. Go talk to these other up and coming companies about how to. Dan Johnson with the you guys may know Dan from the Nine Finger Chronicles. He's building the Sportsman's Nation network. Go spend money with these guys. They've got incredible reach. These guys are reaching millions of people, and marketers have just gotten so stuck sucking on the teat of power from Facebook because it's easy leads, that when we do get cut off, there's going to be companies, man, that when that does happen, and we're starting to see a little bit of it. I can talk a little bit about some of that in a second, but like when that hard shut off does happen, I think you're going to see some brands that just don't know how to survive without those easy clicks from Facebook. So, as a marketer, it'd be smart to start prepping for what could be coming. And it's really if the ethos of your brand is to further the hunting and shooting and fishing sports, like you should be supporting people that support you back anyways.
Yeah, exactly. So I guess one thing that I keep thinking about is, so there's all these challenges with the current social media environment, the search algorithms, the whatever is holding all of these organizations back. What options are there? I know you've mentioned some other platforms, but I mean, what are you guys doing over at GoWild to offer that opportunity to people that, traditional social media isn't? I know you'd mentioned sort of that bonus program. And I'm a member, so I understand how sort of you earn some of that credit, but what are you guys doing as an organization that's really just focused on supporting that, stepping in where traditional social media hasn't?
Yeah. So is the question, if I were to word that back to make sure I give you the right answer, is it kind of, what are you guys offering as an alternative?
Yeah, I guess, let me reword that. So I guess my real question is, I know you guys are offering an alternative, but what are you guys doing as a brand that is sort of counter to what traditional social media,
Okay.
traditional
What makes you unique kind of thing.
Yeah.
So I hate being called Facebook for the outdoors, because we're not that. If anything, we're more like Reddit for the outdoors. I don't know if you guys are familiar with Reddit, but it's like a forum-based social app. So when you onboard to GoWild, you can do it a whole thing in like 90 seconds. It's very quick. You're going to pick some topics around what you like. And the process is identifying what you like to do outside. So like we have a whole forum for trapping. And if you want to learn about trapping, we've got, I have yet to be proven wrong. I've said this on like a dozen podcasts. I think it's probably true. I think we have the most active community of trappers in the world. And so you can come in and you can ask questions and you can ask people about what they're running and connect with them. And you can connect with local trappers. We have this near me functionality that pulls you right to everybody near you around that topic. GoWild does not require or really care about your followers. Your followers are important in that you build relationships with people, but we call them buddies. It's not as important to connect for engagement. We really think of the platform as, we're going to help connect you to people who are in your area and around things that you like to do. And then from there, it's up to you to decide who you want to follow and engage with on that, like that typical follower perspective. You could use our app though and have no followers or follow no one. Like that is not a requirement at all. And if you look at our profiles, they actually are designed to not put emphasis on that. I mean, we started off that way because that's what everybody does. But the more we've really realized what we do well, it's get people engagement around the things and the questions that they have. So on the platform as a member, you can post and you can ask a question. So if I post that question into trapping, GoWild, just for simplicity's sake, my team would kick me for saying this, but the algorithm, people always like to talk about algorithms. I think most of us, probably me included, don't know what that really means. But I'm not a data scientist, by the way. My co-founder is. I'm like the sales and marketing and creative guy. The algorithm though will then say, Drew's trying to find help with trapping. I think these people might be able to help him. So it'll tell them like, Drew has a question for the community about trapping, and they'll get a notification in their tray to try to help. It's awesome. Like I've used this before. Last year when I was looking at buying a new hunting rifle, and I did the age old, like, what hunting caliber do you guys prefer for whitetail? And I had a crazy amount of engagement on that post. And there's things like that make us different from an engagement perspective. We have this cool trophy functionality that I think it's 250 species or something you can log, and we're always adding to it. But you can log, and it takes all your information down and then assigns a rough score. This is not meant to be a Boone and Crockett. It's kind of for fun, but it also, like, it goes on your profile. I'll talk about your profile score in a minute. But you can tag the gear you're using, and now as you're tagging gear, all that content lives on that gear. Again, we'll talk about gear in a second. So one of my favorite things that we do, I shot a spike buck on accident this year. A horrible story I can tell you guys later if we want to like mock me for a good 20 minutes. But what's funny is it went out to all of my followers. They get a push notification that says Brad just logged a trophy. And dude, I had like 70 comments on this little spike within 24 hours of people like, hey, good work, or hey, I've done that too, or meat in the freezer. But the normal Joe Schmo who has 300 followers on Instagram posts his deer is not going to get engagement around his deer. Nobody cares, right? It's like your Phyllis who works in HR follows you, your Aunt Susie, and some guy that you went to high school with who, has been into jail 9 times. It's like nobody relevant to you anymore a lot of times on your following, right? It's like, and then you're only going to reach, as you said, a percentage of those people. Our platform there does a really good job of getting your content in front of the right people. So all of this engagement is giving you points. If you leave gear reviews, it gets you points. If you invite your friends through your share link, like mine is mygowild.com/Brad. If I send that to my friends and they download, the app knows they came from me, and then I get points. All that's going into your profile, so you can see that profile score. And that's kind of indicative of a couple things. So it tells you, it's kind of like a Reddit karma score. It tells you how long somebody's been around and if they're legit. Like if they've got a 5-figure score, they've been participating in the platform a lot. If they have no score and they're trying to sell you ammo, you might not want to listen to that person, right? It's like that might be somebody new and just trying to hack your money, which we don't have that problem a lot. I'm just giving that as an example. But then as you get those points, you can unlock rewards. And this is where it gets really fun. And this has been the most popular thing we've ever launched since September. We launched this in September. You unlock t-shirts, free stickers. You can win a free knife from Gerber at some point. You get these really steep discounts. About 6,000 people recently just unlocked 25% off Vortex anything on Vortex products. So there's all these, like, that's a big discount if you're buying $500 binoculars, right? Like, there are some really sweet things in there. You can win $100 for Captain Experiences, which is like the Airbnb of fishing guides, and you can literally get $100 to spend with those guys towards whatever. So it could be a $300 bass fishing trip, or $800 redfish trip. So from the rewards perspective, like, bar none, no one does what we do. The social content, if you buy through us, every dollar you get gets you more points. We're about to start doing some like 2x point weekend type stuff. So all of the things I just described, you'll notice I didn't really say anything about like, you can post and your friends see it. Like, that's what other social media does. Yeah, right. We'll do that too. Your friends will see your content, but the trophies, the rewards, the ability to see the gear, which I didn't even mention, as you look at gear and you're shopping, you can see all that social content that's being tagged to it. So if you look up like a Vortex Ranger in GoWild, you can see the people that are using it. You can dialogue with them. We have our own review system. It's really cool, man. And you're talking to the guy who's our best customer on GoWild. Unfortunately, my wife probably wishes I would stop spending so much money on our platform, but like, it is a really cool experience as you shop for gear, you can see who's using it and whatnot. So, yeah, man, that's the rundown of like what's different. I mean, I can go on. There's other functionality that's a little less cornerstone, but in a nutshell, that's what we do.
I mean, I think the biggest thing that I've noticed is that your platform promotes people for sharing that hunting content, right? Whereas Facebook's actually gonna throttle you, limit your reach, and potentially for some people who include firearms in the pictures, it's even going to put them in that 30-day probation period or even lock their account.
Yeah.
So it's really interesting to see somebody really standing up for hunting and doing what they can to really promote hunting in a social platform, as far as being the opposite to the other alternatives.
Yeah, I mean, the whole thing started, man, because I really sucked at whitetail hunting. And if you listen to, we just launched this new show called Uncensored, and you can find it on wherever you listen to podcasts. It's Uncensored by GoWild is the name of it. And I tell the whole story of this buck. It's a 30-minute story. But like, I still kind of suck at hunting sometimes, as we all do. We all have like these moments of great failure, right? The short story of that is that I hunted 7 or 8 days this season. I had a 10 point I was targeting. I saw him multiple times, including twice within 24 hours. And I screwed it up and I ended up with a spike. I saw him on opening morning and I didn't shoot him because I thought he was a different deer. By the time I realized he was the 10 point I was targeting, he was into, I did not have a backdrop on him. My bullet would have, if I missed or if I had a pass through, it would have gone into the neighbor's property. So I watched him walk away, and 10 minutes later I heard a shot. Pretty sure he got shot. And, but yeah, I really kind of suck at hunting. So I started this in 2016 because I had been trying to hunt for years. I'd gotten a few deer, but I was hunting with a guy who was good at hunting, and that's different than being good at hunting. And so I was trying to learn for myself, and learning online was really hard. Now, 5 years later, it's a little different with like the hunting public, and there's some guys on YouTube that are doing some really cool stuff. A lot of that content wasn't there, or I wasn't finding it back then. And I really just like, even then, the hunting public's so big, you can't go in and ask Zach questions personally. Like, maybe every now and then they'll do that, but like, those guys get so much attention, they can't go through and do a Q&A on YouTube, right? I know them, and I know we work with them. I know they would like to do that, but it's like hard for them. They like our platform because if you have a question, you can go and ask that, and it doesn't have to be them to answer it. They're like, he's actually become a really good friend of mine, and I always use him in this reference, but I'm buddies with a guy named Mike Larson, who's a police officer in Michigan. He's been a police officer for 30 some years, firearms instructor, been outdoors his whole life. He's got probably 40 years of experience hunting and fishing. he's the most knowledgeable guy I know in the woods. And he's not some big influencer or anything. Now he is on our platform. Like he's often tagged. People know him because he's kind of built this reputation up in GoWild. But you don't need the hunting public to answer that. If you're trying to figure out, do bucks move in the rain or when it's windy, you can ask somebody on GoWild. You can just post that in GoWild, flag it as a question, post it in deer hunting, and I bet you'll have 7 answers by the time you wake up the next morning and you need to figure out where to sit.
Yeah, it's a great community. I know I have some experience with it, and just the feedback there and the way that the community interacts it's a lot different than some of the other platforms.
It is. People ask me, they're like, what did you guys do to make people so nice? And I'm like, I have no idea. I have no idea. We keep waiting on the jerks to show up. I'm always afraid. I've been afraid for 4 years and they never have. So I really feel like if you just get outside of the Facebook and Instagram bubble, if you take down the thought that like every time I post, I'm going to get attacked by vegans or animal rights activists or whatever it is. Like if once your account gets big enough, that stuff does happen, or I'm going to get censored or whatever it is, or I can't be too real about this because I'm afraid, if you work at a big corporation, I've talked to people like that are afraid to post that they hunt, there's all these fears that happen. And I think once you get that away, it's like deer camp, man. Nobody comes back from deer camp and they're like, dude, Ronnie was a dick. It's like everybody is friends, right? The deer camp, you're celebrating what you love together, and everybody's trying to help the next guy get a buck. And maybe a guy shoots a spike like an idiot on accident, and you laugh at him a little bit, and that's okay, right? But that's what we have as a community.
Yeah. No, I think that's a great way of putting it. It's like deer camp. There's a lot of positivity, and yeah, it's a great environment, great community.
The fishing analogy is we often joke that it's like a fly shop. Some fly shops now, they serve beer. You come in, you hang out, you talk with your buddies, you hear some good stories, and you probably leave with buying something, because GoWild does, we want you to buy some stuff that helps support us, and we donate 1% of our proceeds to Raise Them Outdoors, which is a nonprofit that teaches kids to hunt, fish, and shoot. So I don't hide behind the fact that I hope you buy stuff through us. It's going to a good cause. But yeah, like that's the other fun analogy, is like it's like a tackle shop. A lot of guys love going into bait shops and hanging out. So it's if you're a fishing guy, that's kind of a better analogy for you.
Nick, you got any questions?
Not really any questions, but I was just going to comment that I think it's awesome how you've created such a positive environment, because I feel like Facebook, Instagram, I think you said it perfectly, those platforms there's so many people on there that you're going to get attacked by somebody.
Yeah.
And so even though you might not be as big, but you're 10 times more positive, and you're going to be able to learn stuff. You're going to be able to relate to negative or positive scenarios. So I think that's just an incredible thing that you guys are doing over at GoWild.
Appreciate it, man. And it's not just like, some people will say like, I post all the time and I never get taken down. It's like, well, yeah, if your reach isn't significant, I don't mean to pick on people about this, but it's like, you're probably not going to happen. When I had an Instagram account, I didn't really have stuff taken down because I had 1,600 followers, right? It's not like I had a huge following. It's less about, that's an important part of it at some level. And I talk about it a lot. For me though, as for your average guy or gal who's trying to get better, who's trying to connect with other people around like what they like to do, it's just a better place to do that, man. Like, wouldn't you rather be around people who also like this instead of posting and it's just like a ghost town? Nobody says anything, or you're not getting really any engagement. That's what it's like for most people who have 200, 300 followers, which is pretty much, I think it's like the average is like 150 or something. There is a better way. There is a better place where you can come and post. And dude, if you have a place that will celebrate more spike bucks and does than GoWild, let me know, because I haven't seen it. People post trophies. People post does as trophies. They'll post a forky as a trophy, and they'll say, I'm proud of it. And you'll see very few people saying, it's not the biggest buck, but like people are just happy, man. Like if a dude went out and shot his first deer on public and it's a spike, our audience will celebrate you, and they understand what it's like. Honestly, like I was embarrassed that I shot this freaking spike this year, And I posted it, and I was frustrated. I was frustrated in my caption. I'm frustrated in that podcast if you watch it. I'm embarrassed as a hunter, and people are like, dude, I've done it. I mean, I can't tell you the number of people on GoWild that have DM'd me or commented on that, or I've talked to through who I know through GoWild, and like, dude, I've done it. Like it made me feel better because of our community, you know? So I posted that on LinkedIn, and I didn't have flooding of people saying like, hey, I've also shot a spike buck and thought it was a doe. Like it's just something that's unique to GoWild. You know, I hate saying family because it sounds culty, and I'm not saying I'm trying to build a cult, but it's like a family, man. I like really care about some of these people that I've never even met, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, and I think with the censorship and those bigger platforms, you're eventually over time, you're going to have people who are afraid to post and are afraid to say that they're happy for somebody who killed a Forky, because the people who aren't getting censored are allowed to say whatever they want. And you just have a certain person who can say whatever they want, and Facebook, Instagram, they're not going to do anything about it. And so these people,
Man,
it's nice that these people who are afraid to say something have somewhere to go.
Here's the thing, and yeah, I'm a capitalist, right? Like I'm trying to build something that makes money. A lot of this content, people don't think about what drives these influencers to create content, and it is money. They have to be able to pay rent. They have to pay bills just like the rest of us. And a lot of them may get away with doing that on the side. But at the end of the day, to put the level of effort into creating really good content, it takes a lot of time, and it takes money. It takes money to travel around like Aaron and these guys do with the hunting public. They have to have support to be able to do that. So if they imagine a scenario where it may not seem like a big deal, but what would it look like fast forward 5 years if these guys do start getting throttled? They don't get the reach, the brands aren't as engaged with them anymore, so they stop making content. I don't mean to say that about THP in particular. I'm saying that about influencers in general. These content creators we've all loved, their podcasts don't get the reach anymore. Maybe that happens. Maybe Apple starts throttling them. Those kind of things. Put your head on where that could be if that YouTube scenario gets pulled throughout everything. If that starts to happen, they're less incentivized to create this educational content, this content that really does help I hate the sport, but I don't like calling it that. It's really more of a lifestyle, but let's just call it, for the sake of, let's say the sport of hunting, right? These things that further it along, like that's what's dangerous. People have not thought ahead. It's like electric cars, man. Like it doesn't really matter how much you want to cling to your electric cars. Fast forward 20 years, states are mandating that they're going to have to be electric in 15. It's coming, right? Like it's coming. It doesn't matter if you want it, because demand is going to change. Gas is going to be super expensive. It's going to be hard to find. You're going to be like, dude, this is such a pain in the ass. I don't want to drive a gas car anymore, right? Like that day will come. It may not be here. It'll be here in our lifetime, but it's not going to be in the next decade. But in 2 decades, we're probably looking at that, right? So if you apply that same analogy over to hunting and fishing content, if these guys don't have the demand to make the money, are they really going to do this anymore? Or are these guys going to go off and be carpenters? Are they going to go, do something else that they can express themselves? Or do they just quit altogether and go get into insurance, which is fine if you're in insurance. My dad is too. I'm just saying, like, people aren't thinking straight, and they're staying in these places that don't want them. That, again, it's the death of 1,000 cuts that we're seeing right now. These guys that are getting demonetized on YouTube. I mean, Seek One got back for today, but like that to me would be a big warning blow. That there has to be something else out there. So we're trying to do our part. I mean, we've been challenged. People, when Seek One got not taken down, but demonetized, tons of people were like, "Oh my God, are you guys going to build YouTube for the outdoors?" And I'm like, no, because that's like a $50 million project to even build something compatible at like the most minimum viable product level. When you think about it, like
Right.
that's not what we do. We're a social platform where you can share your content, but we honestly kind of suck at video right now. Like we don't have, we have a 2-minute cap. YouTube, like, what, I don't even know if it has a cap anymore. Like the idea of competing with that is daunting for me. That's not my role in this, but there are seismic shifts that I think have yet to happen. I get a lot of people like, "What's the future of outdoor media?" And I'm like, it's dark. Mm-hmm. I mean, that's where I really feel like it's gonna. And and I'm on the board of the Professional Outdoor Media Association, so I know a lot of writers and a lot of content creators, and I feel like not enough people are really paying attention to what's going on and putting it all together, man.
Yeah, I get that for sure. And earlier you mentioned algorithms. There's a documentary on Netflix. I'm sure you've seen it. I can't even remember what it's called, but you know which one I'm talking about.
God, I do. It's really good. If you hadn't said that, I would have been able to tell you. But
Right.
now you're like, I don't remember the name, and I can't remember it either.
But anyways,
is it The Social Network? No, that's the movie. Shoot, now we got to look it up, man.
yeah.
Sorry.
Stand by,
Dead
listeners.
Space. Yeah. Yeah. This movie though is talking about the social dilemma.
That's what it is.
Is that the way you're yeah,
I
dude,
think
that's
that's
a
what it's called.
fantastic. I really became an advocate for that documentary after I watched it. I think it does a really good job of highlighting some of the concerns around the attention span, man. Like we have conversations internally about not wanting people to be engaged for too long. We've talked about putting caps on the platform each day. We worry about, I don't want someone to use our platform just to sit there and scroll mindlessly. Like I want it to enrich you so that you can go out and do what you love to do. But when you watch that, you see the hooks that these companies really want to put into you. If anybody's really interested in this, and a book nerd like I am, read Facebook, The Inside Story, and you can see how corrupt this organization is. And you think about where your data is sitting. Instagram, there's a similar book called No Filter. There's a ton of documentation out there around Silicon Valley and what they're doing to our brains, man. If you don't read, just watch that 90-minute documentary. It will freak you out. And
Yeah.
I was already going down the path of exiting. I took a cleanse from Instagram about the time I think that movie came out last year. And I had just started a 90-day cleanse. I deleted the app and stayed logged out for 90 days last year. Now I've deleted it since then. Deleted my account. But a lot of people were like, "Oh, I see you watch The Social Dilemma." But I'm like, man, like you can laugh about it, but there's some dark, like we're kind of messed up as a people because of these platforms.
Yeah, absolutely. It's mind-boggling how much influence, whether it doesn't matter the information really, if it's true or false or anywhere in between, it doesn't matter because these companies are so influential that whether it's fake or real, they'll push what they want,
Yeah, and dude, again, I won't get political on you, just don't freak out. But when the Facebook book that I was talking about, Facebook, The Inside Story, they unveiled how that impacted the 2016 election, and it was unreal. Some of the stuff that's in that book, and how manipulated our brains are, and Facebook created fake news. I mean, literally had these content farms that would create fake news to rile up whichever political party. It happened on both sides. It's insane.
Yeah,
I mean, it's really
for sure.
like we're Joe Rogan says it all the time. It's like we're living in a freaking movie. Like I don't know, or if you've ever read 1984, like to me, Facebook's over here talking about building the future and the metaverse, and I'm like, there is literally no one I would further distance myself of building this virtual landscape than you guys. I mean, it's Big Brother to the extreme.
Yeah, absolutely. Drew, you
I'll
got
come back
anything
on
else?
y'all's podcast and throw out crazy rants any day of the week, guys.
Yeah,
We'd love
we're
to have you back.
happy to have you.
Oh man, hey, what do you think should we wrap up with the questions we always ask first time guests? I think
Yeah,
that'd be
absolutely. We got
great way
plenty
to
of
close
time,
things.
so
Tell us about one of your sort of dream hunts in one of your lifetime, your bucket list.
Yeah, I think it's
Dude, that's so weird because I actually literally just wrote down a bucket list today, and I was like, I'm gonna start documenting this stuff that I keep saying I want to do.
Yeah.
Which I have like weird things on this list, but I did add a bucket list hunt today, and I want to. I've never elk hunted, which is stupid that I haven't done this. But I have 3 kids, and like the point in my life when I could finally afford to do it, I got really bogged down. But I don't want to say it's bucket list, but it's like one of my next big hunts I'd like to figure out to do. Bucket list though, I really want to go up to Alaska and do some hunts with my buddy Lynn Hoffman. And I don't know what that looks like. He does a lot of sheep hunts. He does caribou. I'd love to do something up there with him because that backcountry that he like you. I mean, I know guys out west here do a lot of elevation and hiking, but like what I've seen my friend Lynn Hoffman and Lacey Hoffman, their married couple that guide, like what I've seen them do is insane. So that is a bucket list for me. And then I got to fish in Alaska 3 years ago, and I did king salmon and halibut. And it makes me, I really want to get back up there and do like a fly fishing. And I don't know how to fly fish. I'm really terrible at it. But I like the idea of it. And I think like doing it in Alaska would be one of the most badass things you could do. So you didn't ask about fishing, but like really hunting with Lynn in Alaska, and he's very expensive as a guide. But I'd love to do that. And I would love to go up and fish up there.
Nice. Yeah, we didn't ask about fishing, but we might have to start asking about fishing because that's part of it, you know?
I mean, dude, you can have some epic fishing. I mean, that trip to Alaska was as epic as anything I've ever done hunting wise. I mean, we had to fly on a float plane an hour north of Ketchikan. There's no roads. We had bears coming into the resort. We're fishing next to freaking whales. There's or bald eagles like flying over your head, carrying off fish. I'm like, this is incredible. These guys do this every day of their lives, you know?
That is cool.
It was awesome.
So second question is, what is your most memorable, your favorite hunting memory, I think is how the question is worded.
So my favorite hunting memory is not like a biggest buck story or something like that. I had been trying to figure out how to hunt. I had been skunked a couple seasons from when I stopped hunting with the guy who knew, and I started trying to do it myself on public land. I finally got access to a private property, 33 acres tucked into the Appalachian Mountains where I'm from. And immediately everybody's like, you don't sound like you're from Appalachia. But it's true. I got to hunt there, and I had spent all summer scouting this property. I'd been all over this 30 acres, hung cameras, decided where I was going to hang my climber, got out there, cut shooting lanes, all this stuff. And I hunted it hard, and I went out, and it started raining, and I thought for sure, I didn't know anything about hunts in general. It starts storming when I get there. And I slept in the truck because I was like, it's lightning. I literally can't go climb in the middle, stand up a tree. So I stayed in the truck until daylight, and I went out and got in my stand. I'm stupid. I'm like, this hunt's ruined. It never occurred to me that if I'm hunkering down, the deer are also probably hunkering down. So I do my hike and I sit, and I had a scent plan, and I'm doing all this stuff. And like, that's usually where I screwed up, was scent with whitetail. I didn't know what I was doing. And still to this day get busted, but I'm obviously a lot better now. But I got an 8-point, came in at 35 yards probably, and after a long staring contest, I ended up getting him, and it was my biggest deer to date. It's still probably the most. I never aged deer or measured them because I don't really care. But like, he was a big, like, nice mature deer. Actually, that one I did have aged because I took him to a processor. I quit doing that. Was the last deer I ever had processed in 2016. And it was the same summer I found a GoWild, but that was a win because I got an 8-point. I got a real deer. I could be proud of this. And like, he was big and big bodied, and field dressed him on my own. Like, I did everything, and I didn't have help. I had no help. Again, I took him to a processor, which now I do. I've done all of them since in my garage. But that, like, for me, the win of having gone a couple years without even seeing freaking deer on my hunts because I didn't know what I was doing, like, the come together of that has been awesome. I've since shot bigger deer, but it to me, like, the milestone of getting that buck, he hangs in our conference or in our lobby when you walk in. Because I think it's cool because I shot him the same fall that we were founding the app, and so he's hanging on a bourbon barrel head because this is Kentucky and we do everything with bourbon. Nice. And so he's hanging in the entryway on a bourbon barrel head. I'm just still really proud of that deer.
Awesome, man! Congratulations. 2016 was a big year for you then, huh?
It was, yeah.
That's awesome. And then the third question is, I'm actually looking forward to this question. What is your biggest piece of advice to your listeners, our listeners, anybody in the outdoor industry?
Is this, can I ask a question to a question? Is this like life advice, or is this business advice, or hunting advice?
It can be all three if you want it to be.
Okay.
Whatever, yeah, whatever you want.
All right. So I'll give like general advice that, I think too many people, I get so many people asking me about how I did Go Wild. And like, I want to do this thing. How did you do it? And I think so many people assume that people that have taken a jump to start something had something figured out that they don't. And this could be elk hunting. For me, this is elk hunting, right? This is elk hunting. I should just go and freaking do it and find a over the counter tag and do it. But in this example, I feel like there's barriers, there's a knowledge gap. Even though I've listened to like untold amounts of Cody Rich's podcast, I could probably go hunt elk. Like I could probably find elk based off of my theoretical knowledge. And I wouldn't suck the worst. I probably would suck. I'm sure I would suck because I suck at whitetail and I do that all the time. But like I would be able to try, right? People get in their own head. They put these ideas on a pedestal, and it's this holy grail of like, one day I'll quit my job to start this company, or one day I'll just try to start figuring out how to start this company, or one day I'm going to go hunt out west, or whatever it is. And you like really the best way to start accomplishing that is to have a bucket list and to start working on towards that, doing one action a day. Even, you know, when I started Go Wild, I already knew that I wanted to start a company. I had been trying to figure out what company I wanted to start for 2 years, probably longer, because I got my co-founder here. It's a funny, long story. I won't bore your audience with the long version, but essentially he and I had tried to start another company when we were working in advertising together. He got laid off and they found out that we were working on it, and I got fired. So since then, I had pretty much been working on trying to start something. I spent 5 years at this other agency. And really, like, once I had the concept of Go Wild loosely framed in my head, I just started working on it. And it didn't take money. It just took time, right? So I put my kid to bed. He was young. I put him to bed, and he was 18 months old. And at 8 o'clock, I'd have him asleep. And I would research from 8 o'clock until 1 a.m. And I would have a Google Doc. I've still got these Google Docs that I did research on, and just reading about stuff. And this could be hunting. So you put your hunting hat on, or your start a business hat, whatever it is. And I just took notes, and I just read, and I listened to audiobooks, and I listened to podcasts. And over time, I understood the concept of starting a business. Okay, I need to do a business plan, because even if I don't ever use this thing again, it'll help me with strategy and things I haven't thought of. Okay, I did my business plan. Okay, I need to take my business plan and put it into a pitch deck, because the way I'm going to do this, I'm going to raise money. How do you raise money? Okay, I literally went to Google, how to raise money for an idea. I didn't know any of this stuff, right? So it's all little by little. And I think people get intimidated. It's weird to me, but this happens because I get a LinkedIn message 5 times a day like this. People get intimidated by seeing how much I've done with Go Wild. And they're like, you've raised all this money, and how did you do this great thing? And it's like, it happens a little at a time. I didn't wake up one day and raise $2.5 million. I didn't ask anybody for money at first. We didn't know what we were doing. If you're trying to elk hunt, you don't just like hop off to, I can't remember the name of that ranch that Joe Rogan hunts, or Cam Haines, or any of these guys. You don't just hop off to this place where you've got elk crawling everywhere and it's 25 grand, right? Like, that'd be a crazy way to start elk hunting. You're probably just going to go drive out somewhere and probably not see elk for 5 days, but you tried, right? Starting a business is the same way. Starting whitetail hunting was the same way for me. You just, if you don't just push yourself to try it and accept that you're going to fail a few times, you're never going to do it, man. So one of my favorite books is Creativity Inc. It's by Ed Catmull, the founder of Pixar. Weird, 2 truths and a lie about me, if you ever get around to it. Like, the truth is, I am truly obsessed with Pixar. I love the movies. Like, it's been a big influence on my life. That book was a big influence on my business philosophies. And his whole thing is, there's no such thing as failure. It's always learning, right? You're always getting better. And as long as you're applying that back into what you're trying to do, you're still learning. So the short answer to this, the TLDR, as they say, is my advice is to just stop putting it on a pedestal and just go do it. Stop thinking about it and just start taking some action that gets you closer to it than you were yesterday.
That's awesome. And I really relate to that because elk hunting is on that pedestal for me as well. Because I'm from Texas, man. And so
Yeah.
the only elk I think that we have
You guys
are,
got elk down there, right? Like you have everything. I just assume like if you want to go hunt
Well, yeah.
something that's like an exotic in Texas, and you can probably do it.
Yeah, like you said, you just got to pay, an ungodly amount of money to go do it. But you can't, there's like 2% of public land, 2% of Texas land is public, and then you have to draw in order to even go hunt on that. So it's like,
Yeah.
it seems like a difficult thing to do, but like you said, you just got to go do it. So
Yeah.
I'm going to try
I
to
need to take
apply
my own
that.
advice on the elk side. I need to take it on the elk side. I actually tried to do it this year and we didn't get drawn. So I'm working on it. I am slowly working on it.
There you go.
My buddy Mike that I mentioned is trying to help me mentor into my first out west trip to hunt. So I life always gets in the way, man. I've learned to just put stuff on the calendar and go for it. If it's not on my calendar, I won't do it. So I'll literally put going hunting on my calendar a month in advance, and I'll block off 2 days a week that I'm going to go during the week. When my kids are in school, and just figure it out. So you just got to go for it.
Yeah, for sure. Well, I'm gonna take that one and run with it. So
Do it. Yeah, appreciate you guys having me on. It's been great.
Oh man, we could not be more excited to have you on for sure. Thank you so much again.
Yep.
Well, Brad, we'll start the closeout by letting everybody know where they can find you and where to find GoWild and that all that good stuff.
Yeah, so you literally will not find me on Facebook or Instagram.
Perfect.
A lot of people always like, what's your handle? I do weirdly enough have a Twitter that I mostly use to read news, mostly Kentucky basketball news. I am from Kentucky. We do bleed blue. I'm obsessed, have been since a young age. The best place to follow me though is on LinkedIn. I'm very active on LinkedIn, and I actually post different content. Sometimes I'll post the same stuff, but usually it's catered a little bit one way or another. My LinkedIn stuff is usually business oriented, although I have been challenging myself lately to post more hunting content on there. I feel a responsibility to, as a steward of hunting, to paint a different picture than what a lot of people have as a perception. So if you're on LinkedIn, please give me a follow. Please let me know you heard about me on the show. And then GoWild, you can go to mygowild.com/Brad and it'll tell you how to download, or you can just go to downloadgowild.com. And one cool thing we do is anybody that joins the platform gets a direct message from me 24 hours after you join. That is a robot. It is automated, but if you reply, it is really me that answers. I don't have like some assistant. We're literally a poor startup. I can't afford that. So that's me responding to you at like 12 p.m. So join GoWild, and again, download GoWild.com. You're going to get, if you do this, at least this year, we're running this promotion through the end of the year. You will get $10 to spend for creating an account. So it automatically pre-populates on your account. If you download the app and create an account, you'll also start to unlock rewards. It's also, this goes through the end of the year. It's super easy to get a t-shirt right now. Like I cannot tell you how many thousands of t-shirts we have shipped. It's like 10,000 t-shirts we've shipped out this year, and it's insane. So it's very easy to get a shirt if you want to start post some deer from years past. And, again, it's the rewards program. We put a lot of resources into creating that. So we're really trying to get people excited about it. So again, get in while the getting's good, because there's a lot of free stuff you rack up quick, including that $10 gift card. So download GoWild.com, create an account. You'll get a DM. Let me know you heard about me on the show, and we'll love to chat.
Awesome. Well, thanks again, Brad. We'll looking forward to the next podcast we have together.
Yeah, thanks, Nick and Drew. It's been fun.
Yeah, for sure. Well, to our listeners, thank you guys for listening. We are going to head out now. Go to fallobsession.com. That's the hub. That's where you can find everything from our podcast to our store to recipes, all kinds of articles on gear and educational articles. So go there to check us out. We are still on all the other social media outlets.
No judgment.
Don't hate us, Brad.
No judgment.
Yeah,
I get it.
But we are on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. LinkedIn maybe. I know me and Drew are on LinkedIn. Drew
LinkedIn and GoWild.
we are on GoWild as well. Me and Drew are both on GoWild, so go check us out on all the above. Again, thank you guys for listening. We try to release a podcast every single Monday morning. We do our best. And if you guys have any suggestions or any guests that you want on our podcast, go to fallobsession.com/podcast. There is a form at the bottom of that page where you can submit suggestions or guests who we should reach out to, and we will do our best to reach out to them. Other than that, I don't think we have anything else. So thank you guys very much for listening to another Fall Obsession podcast. We'll see you later.